Hey, good morning. I've already done a little bit of Christmas crochet, as you may have seen, so I think we need to turn our hand to a little tiny bit of Easter. And you know I like my chocolate orange covers, you'll have seen from the thumbnail, and here my little chickadee is. So, as you know, that's a chocolate mint. It's still over from Christmas, that one. I'm dying to eat it, but I hadn't got a chocolate orange, so I had to use it for its model. So, it's the same size. Now, here is little chicken. She's done in double knit yarn. You don't have to do this frilly bit. I'll talk about all that while we're doing the tutorial. But yeah, just a bit of fun, little Easter thing. Doesn't have to be for Easter. I know sort of chickens are very popular at the moment. So if you've got a friend who likes chickens or has got chickens, it might be a cute thing to make. So just a little bit of fun. Easter's not far away, so I thought I'd better get something done. So we're going to go top down and make our little Easter chicken. Don't forget UK terms, and I'll see you in a second. So here we go with our little chicken chocolate or mint orange cover, or whatever gift you would like to pop in there. It does stand, like most of them that I do, quite nicely on its own, so you don't actually even need the filling, or if you've eaten the filling you can still use it as a really cute decoration. So I'm going to pop that to one side a minute. There are a few parts to this one, so it is going to be a longer video than usual. Obviously we've got a head, we have a little tail, we have two little wings, the little crest and the beak. Now the items I've used are double knit yarn. So I have, again, chicken can be any colour, can't it, but I just went for the cream because it was quite easy to see. So I have a double knit yarn there, double knit yarn and a double knit yarn for most of it. Now the only thing that I've done a little bit different is I've added in this eyelash. You don't have to, you can just do a couple more rounds and just take it straight to the bottom of the orange. But this eyelash is fabulous. I don't like to crochet with eyelash. It's not the easiest thing to work with. But if you're only doing one round or something like that, two maybe max, it does make a really cute edging. And because this one's like a multicoloured, it worked out quite nice. This was just something I had in my yarn stash. So whether you can get this, I've absolutely no idea. But there's loads of different eyelash yarns. But you can sort of see what it looks like. It's literally like a little eyelash. And that is why we call it that here in the UK. You might call it something else somewhere else. If you do, pop a comment below because it'll help other people as well. So those are the actual yarns. I have a tiny weeny bit of stuffing because the head is stuffed and there's only the tiniest bit of stuffing in there. You might not even need it, but I did pop it a little bit in there. So I'll move stuffing to one side. We have some eyes. Now these are, it says on the packet, these are 6mm safety eyes. Now the use of safety eyes is entirely up to you because it depends on your recipient of it as a gift. I like the safety eyes because I think they just give a nice effect, the way they dome out and everything. But you need to make sure you've bought quality safety eyes because you don't want them pulling out and things like that. So you do need to be aware of what you're doing with these. Beads can be used, again, if you've got no worries about sort of people sort of swallowing bits and pieces. Or if you want to keep it really safe or you want a little one to play with it afterwards, I would embroider the eyes on, something like that. But that is something you just sort of have to sort of assess. You'll know yourself who you're making it for, unless you're just making it for yourself, which is what I've done here. So that is all the yarn type things. The actual hook, we have it always gets in the light, this one. It's a 3.5mm crochet hook there. Have my scissors, have a needle minder and have a stitch marker. The stitch marker I'm using, because I haven't got a chicken one, is one from my daughter's collection that she made. These are original designs. I think they're super cute. So that is the one I'm going to be using if I need it. You can actually get away without using a stitch marker on this, but when I'm sort of chattering and things like that, it's sometimes a good idea. So what don't we need just now? Obviously, beak and crest, we don't need. We don't need the orange. We don't need that just yet. I'm moving everything out of the way so we have no shadow. We'll move our little chicken there. Can we see her? We can. There's a clip over my phone just there and I can't see. And obviously, this is the yarn we're going to start with. So let's move everything out to the way we don't need. Now, as I mentioned, it will take a little bit. It is creating a shadow there, isn't it? It will take a little bit, this one, because there's a few different components. So you might want to stop and start the video and work on it bit by bit if you wish. Now, it is UK terms. I've already mentioned that at the beginning because it is an important thing to mention because there are different types of crochet terminology. Here in the UK is slightly different to what people use in the US, for example. So you may need a conversion chart if you're not used to UK terms. So we're going to start with our yarn. We're going to make our slip knot onto the hook. Don't pull it too tight. And we're going to just start with 2 chain. So we're going to have 1. We're going to have 2. Now into that first chain, just here, we're going to do 6 UK double crochets. If you're not sure, in the US it would be a single crochet, but over here it is a double crochet. So I'm not going mad, it is what it is. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. I'm not going to join because it's going to work in an amigurumi style, so there's no join, so you don't get one of those funny nasty lines down the back. I'm just going to pull that a little bit tighter in the center, and then we're going to be working 2 double crochets into every one of those 6, so we will end up with 12 stitches. So if you're not sure where the first one is, count from the back. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, because sometimes you sort of want to go in there and that's not actually a stitch, so be careful what you're doing there. First one's always a bit tricky to get into, but here we go. So we have 2 double crochets in the first one, 2 double crochets in the second one, 2 double crochets into number 3, into number 4, so 2 in each, remember, 2 into number 5, and 2 into number 6. Now we've got the neighbours are doing, well, we're having new neighbours moving in and they're doing a lot of work at the moment, so if you occasionally hear a drill or a hammer or something like that, it's because of that. But I'm trying to film in between time and I just can't time it, so I thought, well, I'll just go for it. Right, I'm just pulling that tight. You would sort of get away with it because its head almost covers that bit, but it's nice to have a nice tight point that's not going to come undone. So we've now got 12 stitches. Still not enough, is it? It has to fit. In fact, should we bring the orange over? We'll pop it that side again to avoid shadow. We're now going to do, again, 2 double crochets into each of those 12, giving us 24 stitches. So here we go. So that's 2 in the first one, 2 in the second one, 2 in number 3, 2 in number 4, in number 5, and number 6. So that's halfway there. I can hear the drill next door. It just made me laugh then because it sounds like somebody's whining. So you might hear this strange sort of whiny noise, and it's not, it's a drill. That was number 6 anyway. So number 7. I'm hoping you won't hear it at all. Number 8. Number 9. Number 10. It seems to be a very noisy day for some reason. 11. And 12. So we now have 24 stitches. Now obviously still not fitting, but you can see how it is going to start actually increasing from now. We now are going to start with half trebles. Again, check with your conversion chart if you're not 100%. I'm just pulling a bit of yarn out here. And then we are going to be doing 2 higher, I nearly said a double crochet then. We're going to do 2 half trebles into the first stitch, 1 half treble into the second stitch, and I've got a pussycat that has just joined me, so you can see her shadow here. But yes, that is a pussycat. She'll get back down. She just likes to come and have a look what I'm doing, and then she'll sort of disappear off. So for a half treble then, yarn round into the stitch, pull it through. We have 3 on the hook. Pull it through all 3. Okay, so we're going to do another one in the same stitch there. Oh, she's gone now. So we have 2 half trebles into that first stitch. The next one is going to be 1 half treble. That is our little set. We're going to do that all the way around until we get back. So that is our first set. We have actually got 8 of these little sets. I'm fibbing. You know, I said 1 there. It's actually 2. So I'll repeat that again. You're going to do 2 half trebles in this one. and then a 1 half treble and a 1 half treble. Yeah, that is the combination. So I need another 1 half treble. I looked across and I thought, oh, it says I'm only doing 8 sets, and that wouldn't make sense. So that is the combination. We're now going to do a 2 1 1 2 1 1 all the way around. So that's our first one. This is our second one. So we're going to have a 2, we're going to have a 1, we're going to have a 1. So that's our second set. Set number 3, we have a 2, we have a 1, we have a 1. So number 4, we're going to have a 2, we're going to have a 1 and a 1. Number 5, we're going to have a 2, we're going to have a 1, and if I can get in that one, and a 1. So number 6, we're going to have a 2, we're going to have a 1 and a 1. These are all half trebles. Number 7, we're going to have a 2, a 1 and a 1. And our last set, there is enough stitches here. I know it's all a bit, you can see how it's going wibbly wobbly and that. Don't worry about that, it will settle. It's just, it's a bit sort of close here, so we're struggling to see a bit, aren't we, perhaps? So we're going to have a 2, and it will also make a difference if I've counted it right at the end. And we're going to have a 1, yeah, and a 1. Now we're not going to slip stitch join. I know we're on half trebles now, not double crochet, so you think, oh, I've got to do a slip stitch and then 2 chain. You don't have to. With a half treble you can actually continue doing it spiral. So you can see we're starting to shape. There is no more increases. So this is either where you stay with me or you disappear off and do yours. I'm just looking for my pen, which was there. I know it was. You know, I was so organised. I got everything there. It's behind me. It's behind me. So I have some paper. I have a pen. And we are going to be doing 7 half treble rounds. Then you need to look at it on your chicken, because it will then come to whether you're going to decide to do this or just carry on. So it's very annoying now it's creating a shadow. It's because I've got this new light, which is fabulous, but it's clipped up behind me because I like it where the computer side is, which is behind me, and it sort of causes issues with shadows over me. Right, I'm going to pop my stitch marker in because I'm just going to count stitch marker to stitch marker. You guys are better off counting, and if you are counting, you should be counting to 32 stitches. But I'm going to cheat and just pop the stitch marker in. So off we go. This should be 32 stitches, I hope. Shall we count? We'll count. We'll see if I'm right or wrong. So what have I got there? Did I do 3? I did. This is why I have a stitch marker. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, looking good because I'm about halfway around. That usually gives you an idea if you're halfway with your numbers. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, it's looking good, 28, 29, 30, a bit more yarn out there, 30, we need 2 more, 31, and I'm at my stitch marker, 32, yay, of which I've not attached properly because it's now coming off. Right, let me get that stitch marker on properly. Go in, little thing. There you are. So that was our round 1 of the 7 that I've referred to. So I'll mark that down. So off we go now. As I say, some of you might be staying with me. Some of you might just sort of disappear off and get this done, or pause in, etc., etc. Beauty of YouTube, you can play it how you want. The thing is also, if you are a very beginner, you know the stitches, but you might think I'm going a little bit fast, which is fair enough. I do get that. You can slow it down in the settings. Or I find the best way, it's like if I'm learning something new, is I watch the whole video first, then get all my stuff together, then I start again, and then I stop and start as I go, to make sure I'm doing it right. So as I said, beauty of YouTube, you can do that. I know some of you do stay with me. If you're staying with me at this point, say hi. So we're on round number 2 now. It's going quite quick, this. Now we'll try it on our orange, or our mint as we call it. Although I've noticed they brought these out new for Christmas. But unfortunately the shops have all the Easter eggs in, which I absolutely love Easter egg chocolate. I'm being good. I'm not having any. Not yet anyway. But I noticed they've actually brought out the mint version in an Easter egg. I'm like, oh. Yes, I must admit, I'm probably a marketing dream because I see something like that. Oh, gotta try it, gotta try it. So, almost round. If you like mint chocolate though, it is quite nice. Now, don't worry if it's also curling up. Can you see mine's curling up like a little, I don't know, I can't think of the word. It looks a bit like a little Yorkshire pudding. Or probably when I've made a Yorkshire pudding anyway. It doesn't work very well. Right, there you go. So if you push it out, you can see it is now sitting nicely on our orange. Oh, I'm going to keep calling it an orange. Just ignore me for that. Our chocolate. Shall I say our chocolate? Round number 3 of our 7. Now, we mentioned going over chocolate. Not everybody can eat chocolate, or not everybody likes chocolate. So, you know, you could do it over a gift. You can get the little balls that you can pop gifts inside. Maybe a pair of rolled up socks. Or, I don't know, something silly that would go under a chicken. There's lots of different things you can do. Again, comments below, please. If you put something different in, it would be nice to see. Because as I say, it's that, well, you can see him sat there now. It stands on its own fine. So it could just be something to cover something. Or just something to put on the Easter table if you do that. But again, does it have to be Easter? I don't think so. Chickens are very in at the moment, and I think they're absolutely adorable. I love watching some of the videos with little chickens on. So yeah, it's just a chicken. It can be any time of the year, but it's sort of inclined to denote spring, isn't it? Little chicks and all that sort of thing, and the eggs and that. So I think that's why we're sort of more of an Easter project, shall we say. Almost round. Oh, nearly lost that one. It's a good job I marked my rounds down, you know. What am I on? I'm on round 3. Well, I've completed round 3. Yeah, it might be a slightly longer video because of all the components. I am not literally going to make 2 wings for you. I'm not going to make 3 of the crest. I will do 1 of each just to show you the pattern, and then obviously it's up to you how you sort of design it from there. I mean, you could do all sorts of colours. I mean, chickens come in all sorts. I was so tempted to actually make a pom-pom because I don't know whether you've seen them. They're these very cute chickens who have like pom-poms on their head because of the way their feathers grow, and they are adorable. So I was tempted to make a pom-pom and put it on top of its head, but then I thought, well, I'll keep it more general. So if you do one like that, if you like that sort of look, you can always pop a pom-pom on its head, sort of keep your pom-pom quite long so it sort of looks like it's coming over its eyes or something like that. I think that would be quite a fun one to do. making sure I'm staying, let me move that out of the way, a little bit in the middle there, because I know I'm bad. I pull my work towards me, because if I'm working on my own, my work is quite close to my body, but when I'm filming, I have to reach out a little bit, because I just want sort of you to see the hands and the work. It's much easier. So I do crochet differently when I'm actually on video. Almost there already. We're round 2. That makes us round 2. What am I on about? Round 4. So we're actually already halfway over. Let's have another little check how we're going. Yep, looking good to me. Also, do keep checking on whatever object it is you're going over, because everybody's tension's different. Your yarn might be slightly different, because it might all say double knit. In fact, I'm not sure in the US, are we looking at a worsted weight or is it a sport weight? Never quite sure with that one. I've got a feeling it might be sport. Might be wrong. Please correct me in the comments below. Also, it will help other people if they are doing the pattern in the US and they're not sure what yarn to use. But this is a double knit yarn, we call it over here. But yarns can vary so much, even if they say they are the same sort of size, things like that. I know I've talked about it before, but it can sometimes be hard, and it does make a difference to what you're making, and also your tension and your hook size, all those sort of things. So if you're making something to fit something, keep trying it on. You might need to do some tiny adjustments. With these oranges, there wouldn't be a lot of adjustment. I think if your work is quite loose, I would drop a hook size. This is a 3.5. I will go down to a 3. Maybe check your yarn. Make sure your yarn is what it's meant to be. And just sort of play about with it. You could do some decreases or miss out some increases, something like that. The beauty of crochet is you can manipulate it. It's almost like making a piece of sculpture. You can sort of increase and decrease in different places to create different shapes. Right, we are round again. That was number 5. So I'm going to go all the way up to the 7 before we try it on it again, because that is when I would be bringing the fluff in. And so the fluff was, I think it works, was meant to make it look like it's sat on a nest. So yeah, I think it works, but you don't have to do it. So this is round 6. I think the video is probably going to hit around the hour mark. But obviously I'm talking, you know, not just concentrating on doing the stuff and I'm stopping and starting. So I think as a project for you to make, except for the sewing up, I would say approximately an hour. Look, I've just split that, so just take it out and pop it back in again. There we go. But yeah, the actual crochet side, if you're happy with the pattern and you can get on with it, it would be probably about an hour, I think. Sometimes the sewing up, I mean, there's not a huge amount, but there is a bit of sewing up on this, can actually sometimes take you longer. I know granny squares are like that. You make something with lots of granny squares and you spend so much time sewing in ends, especially if you've done it so you're changing colour all the time, sewing in ends and just sewing or crocheting together. We're almost round on this one, so this was round 6 almost completed, and then we only have one more round to decide whether we're going to put the fluff on or not. Right, the last round begins now. So this is round 7. You can see it's growing nicely now. It's all right. I'm just, my brain is terrible. I'm doing this, and at the same time, I'm looking at the chicken that's here, and I've got a doll sat next to me to my other side, and I'm just wondering what it would look like sat on her head. It might look quite amusing, actually. Might have to try that out and do some photos. The chocolate orange covers do almost make a hat for a midi or a smart doll. You do need the tiniest bit of adjustment though. You would sometimes need to do maybe one less round or something like that, but they do actually make quite cute doll hats. Perhaps I'll have to get all my chocolate orange covers out, because I do keep one of each that I make, and then pop them on all the dolls' heads and see what it looks like. Right, almost round for 7. And then we'll double check on the chocolate itself. Well, at least he don't seem to be drilling too much now next door. Yay. Right, so that is 7. So let's see. You see, I think 7 is good if you are now going to do the nesty bit with the eyelash yarn, because then that will come down to about here. If you're not going to do the eyelash yarn, I would recommend, because I'm going to make this as a pattern and I think I might describe it in 2 different ways. From here, I would do, because it does stretch, don't forget that. Don't try and make it too big, because it does stretch after you taking it on and off a few times. I'd go for 2 rounds of just double crochet, just to sort of tighten it round a little bit, because this is going to tighten it round anyway, because I'm going to do that in a double crochet. So we'll take the chocolate out. Now, before I move on to the eyelash, I'm going to do a slip stitch, because it just flattens your work off and makes it a little bit neater. So where's my tiny scissors? Now, this doesn't matter because it's not going to sew onto anything. If it's anything you're going to sew on, like the head and things like that, always leave a nice sort of long yarn tail there. But for this, we don't need it. I can now take out my stitch marker, because we don't need a stitch marker for this, and we will pull in for a second this eyelash yarn. Now, as I say, it's a strange product to use. It also tangles up something awful, so make sure I've got some that's not going to tangle up. And the other thing is, I found if I crochet with a fluff, now this is the right side, yeah, where that little tail comes from is the wrong side, but I find if I crochet fluff on the right side like you would with your crochet, all the fluff goes on the inside. Found this on a couple of times when I'd worked with sequins. It also did that. So I'm actually going to turn it inside out and work from this side to make sure all the fluff is showing more. I mean, to be honest, with this particular one, you can see it will show both ways, but you will get a better fluff if you work inside out. So yarn, grab, pull through. I'm going to do a chain and then back in with a double crochet. Now, this is hard to say. It's hard to see as you're working on it, let alone showing it to somebody. But basically, we are literally going in every single stitch and doing a double crochet. You have to sort of trust your crochet a little bit with this one. Yep. And we have to make sure we're not missing any stitches, because the fluff covers it over sometimes. So watch for that. And take your time. Might be one you're better off doing when you sort of sat quiet with no interruptions. Oh, this is tangling nicely. I'm going to have to sit and roll that up into a ball afterwards, I think, for any next use. I've had it for years, and this is all I've sort of used it for, bits and edgings and things. And it has worked quite nicely. So just one double crochet, remember UK double crochets, in every single half treble. So we're almost halfway around now. Now you can see I'm running this alongside it as well, so I'm actually crocheting that end in. You don't have to do it that way. You can just crochet your ends in afterwards. It's just a sort of a quicker way of getting rid of those ends. But if you do that, make sure you really do go a long way around. Don't just do it for a couple of stitches and then cut it off, because you're then at risk of it coming out. And also keep flattening it as you go, because if you don't keep this flat against your work, you're going to end up with a little bit sticking up somewhere and things like that. Or you might be pulling it too tight, so be careful. Almost round. And then we can say the body of our little chickie here is done. So you'll have done the biggest part now. Oh, nearly went in the wrong bit then. That's what I'm saying. You need to really double check where it is. And it's, as you can see, nicely tangling up. I'm just hoping that I can get enough out before it decides it is locking. I've only got a few stitches. Please do it. Otherwise I'll be doing half of this and have to do it later. Where are we? There's the stitch. I say it can be a little difficult to see, but it is effective. Sometimes it's worth sort of working with a yarn that's a little bit more difficult just to get the effect that you're wanting. Now where's that last one? Make sure we've got them all. We have. So the last one is actually going to be slipping stitch into the first one you did. You can cut that off now and pull it through. You just treat it like any other yarn. It's just that because the fluff gets in the way, you just have to watch what you're doing. So if I now, you can see that's okay, that's fluffy, but when you turn it that way, you can see the fluff sits better. So now we have our little chickie body sat on a nest. So we can leave that there now because that bit's done. We can completely move the eyelash out of the way and bring back our nice creamy colour that we have here. And we're going to move on to the head. Very similar to what we're doing here. We're using just double crochets though in this particular one. I'll pull a bit more of that yarn out. I have to do it that way because I don't want the yarn falling on the floor. So like with the body, we start 2 chain. And into the first chain, like again with the body, 6 double crochets. We have 1. Oh, we don't have 2. So I'm trying to manipulate. With my elbow, I was trying to move the yarn at the same time as trying to do the stitch. That really doesn't work. So this is our second one. So we have 2 into that first chain, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Obviously not big enough, so we need 2 in each again, just like we did with the top of the body. 1 and 2 in 2, 2 in 3, in 4, in 5 and in 6. So we now have 12 stitches, still working in double crochet. We are now again going to do 2 in each to give us 24 stitches. So here we go. So we have, I'm just going to count sort of like 1 to 12, but it's 2 in each. So that's 2 in the first one, for example, and then 2 in number 2. Okay, so on and so forth. So this is our 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9, 10, 11 and 12. So we now have 24 stitches. Again, it looks like it's going a bit wibbly wobbly, but don't worry about that. It does sort of level out after that. We now have, that is as far as we're going to go. We need 5 rounds, so just 5 rounds of 1 double crochet into each one. So again, stitch marker, a great idea when I am talking. Let me get it right way around. Nope, I dropped it. It's weird. I have trouble. These are my nails, but I have them coated now to make them stronger. and it also keeps the nail varnish on, which is great, but they're sometimes a little bit clumsy to work with. Right, so we need 5 rounds of 1 double crochet into each of those 24 stitches, so we're just going to go for it. Just go for it. I'm just going to use stitch marker. I'm not going to count this time. That's halfway. Very noisy outside today. I know I was saying about noise of the neighbours, just seems to be generally noisy. Lots of cars going past, because we do live on a main road, so you do get cars going past. But on average, I've noticed you guys can't hear it on the video, so that's all good. And that's round 1. Mark it off. My faithful pen and paper. Round 2. You can see it already starting to curve round. Just a few more stitches for round 2. And then we'll push it back out as well, because like I say, it does curl round, which can get a little bit annoying as you're working. So all I'm going to do is just push it round so you can actually see the shape appearing a little bit better. So that was round 2. This ball's going to end up on the floor, I know it is. I'm trying to avoid it doing it. Off we go. Round number 3. So I'm just going to speed up a little bit. You guys, again, you can either stop and do your 5 or just slow me down. If you do slow me down, though, I do sound like I've been drinking a bit too much. So it might be better off just to turn the volume off and just watch the stitches. Couple more, and then that is round 3. Yes, I did double check then what I'd actually written. Yes, that is round 3 done. Mark it off. So you can see we're getting the head shape coming on. Now again, you can play around with the shape. I mean, chickens come in all sorts of shapes and sizes, don't they? So yeah, you could make one looks like it's sort of all sort of hunkered down, so the neck is sort of lower, or you can make it with a longer neck. You can just play around with it. Right, so what did I say, round 4? Yeah, I'd be lost without that pen and paper. Literally lost, because I wouldn't know where I was. Well, within the crochet, that is. Halfway around, well, just over half for that one. Also remember, when you stuff the head, it does make it bigger. So don't worry if you think, oh, it's too small, because when you put the stuffing in, it stretches it a little bit. I think actually stuffing toys is an art in itself. Right, so number 4, and our last round, number 5. Having a quick nosy at the time. You know, to be honest, it's not took as long as I thought. I've a tendency not usually to look at the clock, but I was very conscious of this is sort of more bits and bobs as a project. So I was thinking, oh, is it going to be too long for everybody? But I don't think it's going to be too bad, actually. And there we go. So the thing to do now is, when you've got this, decide whether you want it longer, shorter, etc. So pop it on our chicken. That looks about right, because remember the stuffing is going to sort of extend it a little bit, but in both directions. So think about stuffing. I'd say, yeah, I'd say that's about right, isn't it? So we're just going to do a slip stitch to finish off, because it just flattens it. Now this time leave enough there, because we need to sew it onto our chicken. You can add on a bit of yarn if you have to do that, but I know myself it's a pain. So if you've got the yarn to actually sew it straight on, it makes life so much easier. Right, we'll take the stitch marker out. I'll leave my silly nails will let me. I do love them, but yeah, the only thing is you can't pick things out. Just keeps them a bit sort of as a less breaky. My nails have a tendency to break on their own. So not that that's where it's going over there. So tail, I think. Now this is super quick, this bit. Well, in fact, to be honest, all the rest of it is super quick, because you've got all the big pieces out of the way. Again, starts the same. Slip stitch onto that hook. Don't make it too tight. I'm turning my paper over. We're going to do 2 chain the same, and we're going to do 6 double crochets into there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Now the next one's a little bit tight to do, because we're still only going to do 1 double crochet into those 6, and it sort of like pulls it together a bit weird. So be patient with that. When you get past the next round, it makes it easier. So 6 double crochets. Where do we start? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. That is my stitch. As I say, it is always hard to see. Let me double check that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hang on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It is there. Yes. Thought it looked a bit funny. That's what I'm saying. Always double check. So just 1 in each, and it will pull it together awkwardly, but it will settle. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Can you see it curls it round instantly? So it's a little bit hard to work on. I normally then just push it over my little finger, so it's sort of right side facing, because what we're going to do next is we're going to do a little increase, and all it's going to be is 2 in one, 1 in the next one, double crochets. So find your stitch. We're going to do 2 double crochets. We're going to do 1 double crochet. We're going to do 2 double crochets. We're going to do 1 double crochet. Last time we're going to do 2 double crochets. You're going to do 1 double crochet. So again, push it back over your fingers to make sure it stays in place. We're going to do another increase, and it's going to be similar, but you're going to do a 2 in the first one for your increase, and then you're going to do a 1 and a 1 like we did earlier. So we've got 1 and 1. Yeah, you're going to do a 2. You're going to do a 1 and a 1, and we have one more set to go. You're going to have a 2, and you're going to have a 1 and a 1. So we now have 12 stitches there. I'm going to do, if you look sort of, you can see the tail here, it's almost the right size. I'm going to do 1 round of double crochets, and it's just 1 in each, so it's just 12 stitches. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12, and I'm just going to do that slip stitch. Again, leave enough yarn here to sew onto the bottom. Oh, his head's just dropped off. The actual little bottom of the chicken. So you can see. Yep, so we've got our shape coming. So they're not going to stay there. We'll just put them like that. Right, so we need a wing. The wings are easy. To be honest, you can actually get away without doing a wing, but it just gives it a little bit more detail, doesn't it? Again, nice and simple. I'm just going to do 1 for you. And then I'll sort my second wing out afterwards. So onto the hook. you know what we're doing. 2 chain, 6 double crochets into that first one. 1, 2, 3, it's in the way, isn't it? 4, 5 and 6. In fact, we've got lots of bits of yarn all over, and I think it's a little distracting, so just move it to one side. So we have 6 double crochets into that first chain, and then we're going to do 2 into each again to give us our 12 stitches. Just double crochets. 1, that's 2 in the first one, 2, 2 in number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, and our number 6. Do need to make sure you tighten that middle bit. Tighten it up. Now, if you have any real big problems with that and it won't do it, I've had it where it's caught myself and it won't do it, you can use this bit to sew in and pull it together afterwards, but ideally you need to be able to bring it in nice and tight there. Now, we're still not round fully, we need a little bit more. We have 12 stitches there, so we're going to do 1 double crochet into each stitch. So here we go, count 12 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12. So we have 12 stitches, and I've created just a tiny frill, nothing exciting, just a little bit of something. So basically I've done 3 chain, 1, 2 and 3, just from where I was, and then slip stitch into the next one. Yep, I do 3 chain, 1, 2, 3, slip stitch into the next one, 3 chain, 1, 2 and 3, slip stitch into the next stitch. So as you can see now, we've got 1, 2, 3. This is our 4th. 1, 2, 3. Slip stitch into the next stitch. And you can do as many as you want of these. You can go all the way around if you want, but I didn't. I did it halfway. 1, 2, 3. Slip stitch in, and I'm going to do 1 more. So I have 6. 1, 2, 3, and slip stitch, and that's it. That's the wing. It just gives a little bit of a scallop there, a little bit more of a shape, but it could just be a little round one. Again, we need enough. You don't need as much, but you do need a little bit to sew on to our chicken. So pull it round, and you can see how it sort of shapes from there. So that's our wing. Now all we've really got left is these. Now these, they're not fiddly and they're not hard, but it's just holding them sometimes, because you know, like when with the tail we did 6 in one and then just 1 in each. That's the sort of thing we're going to be doing, and it sort of makes it really close. So I think, shall we go with the beak first, because it's quickest? Come on then. So I've got a little bit of yellow. Again, you can get different colours for different chickens, all sorts of types in there. So yarn on, turn my picture over, or not my picture, my pattern over. I'm going to do the 2, and then yes, you know, I'm going to win the 6 in 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, and now I'm just going to do 1 double crochet into those 6. We have 1, we have 2, 3, 4, 5, and our last one is number 6. Now I'm going to pull that tight. I'm going to push that over my finger so I know which is my right side, and then I'm just going to do a slip stitch, and we've done it. That's it. Again, enough to actually sew onto our little bird. Pull it through, and that basically is our little beak. So we'll give it a little squish round. When it's sewn on, you can see that is the shape of the beak on the other one. So we now have a beak. We now need the little crest. Again, doesn't have to have one. You could leave it as a chick without the crest, but I just thought the colour gives it a little bit of a pop, makes it a little bit different, doesn't it? You're going to start exactly the same. It starts the same as the beak. It's just that it's going to be a little bit longer, isn't it? So 2 chain, 1, 2. You notice I never do that first chain too tight. I tighten it up afterwards, and 6 in, 6 in 1, as I will put it on my own patterns for my own writing. So that is 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Again, pull it tight if you want. It's up to you when you do that. Just make sure you can easily see what you're working on. And for the actual crest, we're just going to do 4 rounds of 1 double crochet in each. I say it does close itself up a bit, so you do have to watch that. And red's not the greatest colour for you guys to see. But here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. So again, because it's curling in on itself, I'll just tighten that again. I'm going to push it over my little finger, so I'm on the right side to start with, and then I'm going to do another round of 6 double crochets. So we have 1, 2, make sure you do get them all, 3, because it's really easy to decrease when it's like this, 4 as in unintentionally, 5 and 6. So that is our second round. Again, if you want to pop it over your finger, make sure it's sort of in position so you can see everything. And I don't really notice, I'm inclined to sort of push my finger inside as well. It sort of holds it better. So another 6 stitches, 1, 2, 3, try not to get the other side as well. That's why my finger's there to stop it. 4, 5 and 6, and our very last round, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. My yarn's getting tangled up with my other yarn, and our last stitch is 6, and again I will finish with a slip stitch to keep it flatter. Again, leave enough sewing on. I know it's only a tiny bit you're sewing on, but it's always best, it's better to have more yarn than not enough. And I'm going to just pull that through and fasten it off. Now obviously on my little chicken here I have 3 of those. I'm not going to make 3 because they're exactly the same, so basically you need to make 3 of those. Now we don't need any yarn at the moment, but we're just going to look at a few pointers for actually putting this together. Now be organized, not like me. Sew all your ends in. I'm just going to shove them in there for a minute so it doesn't get in our way. Yeah, sew your ends in, be organized. Same with this. You can either just push that in. If you find it gets in your way, sew it in, and then you've got to not having a fight with it. Now the eyes, if you're using safety eyes, just a couple of pointers. So what we got there, we don't want 3 eyes, do we? There we go, 2 eyes. Decide-ish where you want it on your chicken's face. On average, you'll find a chicken, it is literally side to side where their little eyes sit. So I always have that at the back from where I'm going to start, or I'll have it at the front. So it's like at a point, so I know I can then go all the way around. So should we go from the front? I'll go from the front, so I'll make that the front point. So approximately, let's have a look. We don't have to fasten them in straight away. We can have a look and see. Yeah, that looks a little bit wide. Have I done the other one? I'll bring it in a little bit more. Again, you can pop them where you want. It sort of gives them, I've done one eye higher than the other there. So have a play around with it. Imagine obviously you've got your stuffing in, so when your stuffing's in, will it be too high, will it be too low? You want to grab your little beak to imagine the difference that makes. It makes a huge difference, doesn't it, when you pop the beak on? So I'm going to go for there. Now these backs I do trust, but again you do have to be careful. There are some cheap ones. For me, it fastens on. I know I've talked about this before, but I like to make sure it is safe for everyone. And from there, these are little, so they're a little bit hard to get into place. I want 1 click That's one. And I need 2 clicks. Now I know, look, that's not gone on, you see. You do have to be careful. Where am I going here? It's hard to show you and do it at the same time. Right, so it's in place, shall we say. And then I need to make sure, 1, 2, I did 2 straight out that. 2 for me is tight enough that you can't see a gap, but it's not so tight that it is pulling at the yarn. So the other one, make sure you get it sort of nice and flat. So the bigger eyes are easier to do. So it's on in position, and then we're going to have 2 clicks, hopefully. Hey, 2 clicks. So that's our little eyes. Now, as far as it looks a bit weird, I know at this point, but you need to find your positioning. Now, on mine, you can see the back of the head is sitting sort of almost in the middle. So the back of the head would sit almost there. Okay. So make sure you've got your positioning. Now I position, and then I just put my finger on like that, and then I sew round. So where's my needle? I was going to say stitch marker then. My needle. Now I don't want it to be totally squashed, but you'll find as you do it, it will pull in anyway. So basically you're picking up a piece of the main body, and I like to pick up 2 pieces of the chain on here. The stitch, should I say, because as you know, there's like 2 pieces, isn't there, on the actual thing. So can you see both sides? Like both sides of that platty bit. So I'm picking up both, and then I'm just picking up the body just directly underneath it. You will get a feel of it yourself. You can play around with it. Don't fasten off until you're happy, because if you fasten off, it's really, really hard to get these things apart. But if you don't fasten off, you can easily undo it and reposition if you don't like it. I've done that loads of times. I mean, there's a chance I'll do that with this, because again, like I mentioned, I sew my items really close to my body, which I can't do on video, so it makes it a little bit difficult. Right, so for example, you would carry on doing that. You can see how we're getting a little bit of shape in now. Do not go all the way around, because you will need your little bit of toy stuffing, which you probably don't even need that much. It's not a lot you need. If you don't have any toy stuffing, you could use yarn. So you can see how that's coming out. One thing I will say as well with these safety eyes, give them a little wiggle, because sometimes they can make it flat. So you can see how our little chickadees go in there. Let's do a little bit more. I normally don't stuff it until I get right to the end. I just wanted to show you the stuffing though. Just so it looks a little bit more stitched on. You may notice I'm also stitching on the orange. I just find it easier to hold into place. It's something to hold on to while you're working, but you don't have to do that. You can do it without it. I just find it easier, that's all. So you can see roughly where it's going to sit. Now the little tail, you might not need any stuffing in it, but again, it's going to sit in that tiny gap. You can see maybe it's 2, maybe 1.5 rows difference. So you can position it and do exactly the same as we've done with the head. I know a lot of you don't like sewing in, I certainly don't, but to get lots of detail, you have to sew bits and pieces on, I'm afraid. The wings, again, I would sew in that and get rid of that middle piece, then into position. I actually pinned mine on both sides so I could get an equal positioning. So I just used a normal dress pin, just stitched, sort of pinned it into place either side, so I knew where it was going to go. And then, as you can see, I've not stitched all the way around. I've only stitched the bit where the bobbly bits aren't. So I've only stitched that top bit. You can stitch all the way around if you want. I just thought it was a bit of fun, because then obviously you can make the wings stick out if you wanted to. Sewing on for these and the beak are exactly the same. So the beak, now the one way I do this, let's a bit weird. This should have, I need to finish this head so I can show you that. Let me carry on sewing this head on. Let's say I can always move it if I don't like it afterwards. This is why you shouldn't stuff it beforehand, because you can't see your stitches. Yeah, the stuffing can be a bit of a pain if you don't get it right, because it does get in the way of your sewing. That's why I would normally do it very last minute. Just bits of fluff you can take out. Right, so I would be round. I would normally fasten it off there, but I'm not, because I want to make sure I'm happy with it. So I'm going to just push that out of the way, okay, because I wanted to show you how I would position my beak. So the middle bit, the bit where you started it, the tail at the beginning, I'm just going to put onto my needle, and I'm just going to push through. Take it off the needle so you can see it sticking out the back of his head. Wiggle the beak round until you know how sort of sticky out you want it to be, and don't pull this tight, but just holds it. So it holds it in position while I use the other end to just carefully pick up all the way around like you do for the head and get that beak into position. These I did exactly the same. So the long tail end, again, we'll just push it on. There's going to be lots of ends here I've got to sew in. Although I need to make the other parts of the crest first before I can finish it. That's split. That's not good. I like to use a nice sharp needle as well. So I've got quite a nice point on this one. So for example, I think roughly where, maybe there. These are cut off afterwards. I don't just leave them sticking out. But it just helps you position before you decide to sew up. So if you've made all three of these, you can just push them through like that, and it just holds it in place. You can look, is that okay? Do you want to reposition? Things like that. And then you will sew in with the end that is where you finished off your work. And then afterwards, push these through a couple of times and cut them off, basically. So it just sort of keeps it sort of nice and organized. So you can see them coming together. This one's got a fatter head than this one, I think. That's why I'm saying with the stuffing, it can vary depending on how much stuffing you put in. So we'll go back to our original one. I will finish this poor little fella off, and let's put that on there. And that is basically our little chicken, chocolate orange, chocolate mint, the gift, whatever you want to cover, little item. So as I said, he stands on his own. So he also makes a really cute, the doll's next to me, I can't resist, I'm gonna have to do this. I don't know whether it will fit her. This is a smart doll I've got here. Now if you're one of the people who watch the doll things, you'll know. If you're one of the crochet people who watch my stuff, you'll wonder what on earth I'm doing. So shall we see? She has a chicken on her head. That's quite funny. I'm easily amused. It doesn't take a lot. I'm going to leave it on her head actually, because I want to take a photograph of that, because I think it looks quite funny. Oh, and I've just knocked the eyes over. That's useful as well. So that is it. I've got to take it off her head to be able to show you again. That's our little chicken done. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you're going to make some. Please tag me on Instagram if you do. I love to see the different variants. I look forward to seeing if there's different colours and things like that people do. Please pop a comment. Please pop a like. And if you're not already subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. There is more crochet to come if it's just crochet you're looking for. And I will see you all very soon. So bye bye for now.